Now some of you might be wondering, how exactly does one beep like a sheep? Take it away, Gabe!
Throw your hands up, then point them to the floor. Here's what to do, now get down on all fours. Just bounce around, it's easy, follow me. Go crazy now, and beep beep like a sheep. Beep beep, I'm a sheep. I said beep beep, I'm a sheep. Beep beep, I'm a sheep. I said beep beep, I'm a sheep. Beep beep, you got to beep beep. I said beep beep, I'm a sheep. Beep beep, you got to beep beep. I said beep beep like a sheep.
I think I've tortured you people enough with that song. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The Game Changer. I am, of course, your host with the most, Nate, the effing great. And we are just nearing the end of August, and it's quite been a very eventful month, actually, to say the least. But this week, for this episode of The Game Changer on this beautiful Wednesday, I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about some pros and cons, mainly in the realm of YouTube's, but specifically with YouTube subscribers. And actually, to make it a little bit easier, I'm actually going to rank 10 YouTube subscribers on here, 4 of which I highly recommend not viewing, and 6 I highly recommend viewing. So, let's just get right into it. Starting off with one that I definitely highly recommend, and that being the Nostalgia Critic. Nostalgia Critic is what you would expect from a lot of certain critics. They definitely pick on movies, and they talk a little bit about some of the faults in them, but also has a little bit of fun with it. With Nostalgia Critic, he definitely goes above and beyond that. For instance, he did a critic review on The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers on it. And it's honestly one of the most entertaining things that I have gotten a chance to see. He really does break down the fact that Dr. Seuss would not be very pleased with some of the things that went on with this movie. It didn't have that Dr. Seussy feel. It just felt like there was so much stuff that was being forced upon. It just did not really have that same Dr. Seuss feeling like when you were a kid reading the books. It just was meh. And the fact that Nostalgia Critic also put in a girl who was old enough to be babysat, but she was playing a role of a younger generation girl who needed a babysitter, and she did not know about the whole classic Cat in the Hat compared to the version of the Cat in the Hat that we've come to know as Mike Myers' not exactly best work. I mean, let's face it, there's probably never been a bigger bomb in the theater as The Love Guru, but I rest my case, and moving on. Nostalgia Critic is one of those guys who, again, just finds a way to take critique, make it fun, make it entertaining. He just knows how to make things good. And he still has time to do really good reviews. But Nostalgia Critic is definitely one of those guys who stands out as one of the people that I highly recommend. So go check out a lot of his stuff. He's done reviews on many movies. He's done reviews on TV series. He's just one of those guys who really has a good knowledge of the product that is movies and some of the stuff that really can make it work and also make it tank. Moving on to a subscriber that I would not, suggest taking a look at or really put too much time in, McJuggernuggets. Now, I actually did a little bit of a review on McJuggernuggets a few years ago, and I talked about how he really is one of those, he's one of those YouTubers that is very controversial, makes things a little bit uncomfortable. It all started with a video of his father grabbing his Xbox, throwing it in the fireplace, and then just flat out destroying it. And then from there, he went on to just do other random things like having his brother smash his camera or his dad, destroy more gaming systems. And then during holiday deals, he would go on to wreck a holiday Thanksgiving feast. He would also even torch a plastic Christmas tree, which makes me kind of uncomfortable to think about because there are people in the world that are in that realm. But the fact that he would do that just for views, it's kind of sickening in all honesty. McJuggernuggets is definitely trying to capitalize on this major, I guess cult-like following, and he's definitely over, I want to say a million subscribers right now. McJuggernuggets is just one of those series that just has really bad taste when you look at it. The characters are so over well done, and they even went to a McJuggernuggets Psycho Series 2, which basically seemed like a behind the scenes deal, and it just found ways to make things very, very uncomfortable. I remember being there for basically the entire run of the first season, I guess you could say, for the Psycho series that he did. And then from there, he went on to start season 2. It wasn't until probably the 4th or 5th episode, I believe it was, that I started really falling out of it, and I definitely did not become a McJuggernuggets fan. But then I recently tuned into some of the videos that he did, and it was just completely different. He looked completely different, and then he had this look of, having black hair and just drinking a lot more, and he was abusing drugs. It's just one of those things where it's like, what exactly is going on? They even had a video about an intervention, which failed entirely. It's just all in bad taste. And with an episode like that, it's not really delivering a good message, because there's a lot of people that really do go through a lot of things that, Jesse's character has gone through. They've gone through, the alcoholism and the pills and so many of these other obsessions and vices. And unfortunately, this is just one of those things that I look at and I just think, wow, they're really making it seem like, well, if he won't do it, then, why should I stop doing my vices? Why should I stop doing my addictions? I mean, he's, continuing his, so it's kind of leaving a very bad taste in your mouth. It just sends really weird chills. Not exactly the best chills. Alright, so let's go on from that to a pro. Definitely a very highly recommended YouTube channel to look at, and that is the WhatMojo.com series. WhatMojo basically does a lot of top 10 lists about certain aspects of things. They've gone through so many facts of life. So, like, what are the top 10 best, cities to go to on vacation? What are some of, like, the best superheroes of all time? What are some of the worst movies of 2016? They go through all of these top 10 lists, and it's actually very interesting to see these and look into more in the research. And the fact that they present a lot of their research saying that it just really is awesome. And you also look at some of their other classical ones where they say, classic movies that we grew up with or classic TV shows that we grew up with. They always find a way to just connect with every single bit of their audience, which is always great. And one of the top reasons why these guys are on my list, because they always find a way just to connect with so many of these, different people. They find a way to just connect with these different groups. That's why Mojo is just absolutely amazing, and I'm very pleased to say that they are highly recommended by me, and you guys should definitely go check them out. A lot of their top 10 lists are great. A lot of their top 10 lists can be very subjective and also can be argumentative, but at the same time, you can't deny the facts that they lay out there. Another good channel to really look at is some of the wrestling related ones. Specifically, there were two that really I had a hard time choosing between the two, so I decided to just put them both on this list. That being the Wrestling with Regret YouTube series, as well as the What Culture YouTube channels, I should say. With Wrestling with Regret, Brian Zane is a lifelong fan who really talks a lot about some of the things that he's noticed with wrestling. Some of the bad things that may have happened. He goes over, like, reviewing Monday Night Raws, SmackDowns, NXTs. He talks about pay-per-views. He talks about many different wrestling events that have gone through, the world. And it's just really amazing how much passion that he puts into these videos. He definitely shows you how much that he cares about wrestling, and he really shows that, hey, I was a huge wrestling fan growing up, and I still love wrestling. It's just that sometimes people are not exactly smart when it comes to wrestling decisions. He'll even do reviews where he just goes back and he'll talk about, classic wrestling events, or he'll talk about people who went through WWE and some of their, trials, their tribulations, all their successes, all their failures, everything that went on. He's talked about Goldberg, he's talked about Scott Steiner, he's talked about the Triple H Reign of Terror, so many different things that he covers with them. And it's just really one of those guys who just deserves the recognition, especially in the wrestling community, especially the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community. He's definitely one of the top guys that I would recommend. The other one, of course, being What Culture. A bunch of guys from England who just come together and they talk about wrestling, they talk about movies, they talk about sports, they talk about a lot of different things. What Culture seemingly was only centered on wrestling, but then you look a little more deeper, especially into their website, and you notice that they do a lot of different things. They do top 10 lists of, some of the best movies as praised by, Rotten Tomatoes, or they'll even do like live reaction deals. They've done a lot for wrestling, but they also did one for the Oscars, not from this year, but last year. Yeah. And it's just really cool seeing them just having fun. And again, they're finding a way to just connect with the people that they're talking about. They're finding ways to just connect with all of the different fans that they have all around the world. So What Culture is definitely very highly recommended. Even if you look at some of the individuals that go through there, Adam Blampier, Adam Pacitti, Jack, King Ross. See here, there's Simon from What Culture. There's another Adam, surprisingly, from What Culture. So many different people who really put a lot into the What Culture YouTube site, but also into the whatculture.com website that they've put up. So definitely go check out some of their stuff. It's just absolutely amazing what they do. All right, so we've gone into another positive. We're going to go into a negative and a con. Another one that I would definitely not recommend people doing. And this one might actually shock a lot of people. That being PewDiePie. Now, don't get me wrong. He is basically the self-entitled Mr. YouTube. He has the most subscribers in all the land. He's one of the most well-known people who has worked through YouTube and created some of the most unique content. The problem is that for me, watching PewDiePie, and it just gets so repetitive, and it really is hard to connect with him that much because he's trying so hard to just be this character who is just crazy and out of control. But in that crazy and out of controlness, there's sometimes where he just absolutely either doesn't make sense or he just gets too into that character that he gets really annoying. That's what really shut me off to him. It just reached a point where it's like, there's only so much that you can handle. He reached a point where, I think I reached the point where he was like in the medium zone, where he was still very good, but also tolerable. It's just now reached the point where you listen to him and it's just like, I think I've got other things that I could do better, like, I don't know, not getting my head screamed off by certain people. It was very hard to really get behind PewDiePie, and especially when he's been under a lot of criticism for his stuff against, different nationalities, There was even a time where he was actually heavily criticized for saying certain things against the Jewish nation, or the Jewish people, I should say. It's one of those things where it's like, you have to really watch what you say, especially on YouTube. You have to really be smart. You can't just go off saying all these random things, because otherwise what's going to end up happening is that you're going to just lose your fan base. You're going to lose a lot of different people who supported you, who have just made you who you are. But if you get too offensive, it just reaches a point where it's like, I can't handle this. So definitely PewDiePie is not somebody I would recommend. But there is another place that I would recommend. Heavily, I would recommend any and all YouTube series that do the ASMR. Now, what that basically is the ASMR is like this very unique form of relaxation where people talk into microphones and they are just trying to help people either relax or feel some kind of release. Basically, I did a lot of research when it came into it, and just hearing how people feel the release when they're being talking to very softly, very gently. How even some of the things like the most mundane tasks, like opening up a bag of chips or just caressing your skin, something like that, really helps people feel either very released, or it gives what is known as a brain orgasm. Yes, that is a term in the world, and it's really quite interesting because I've listened to quite a few of these ASMRs, and they really are very, very good. A lot of these people just know how to really, talk into the microphone. They're always very quiet. They're very delicate. And what you'll notice a lot about the ASMRs is that they are mainly inhabited and more relevant because of the fact that it's always been a woman who's been behind the microphone. And mainly when it comes to women, they know how to keep their voices very toned, very professional, very laid back. They know how to make it just very easy to get along with. When it comes down to it, I know guys can definitely do that too, but it just seems like more women are easily able to get into that type of work because they're able to sound more appealing to people and they sound more relaxing, I guess you could say. So it's nothing against guys, it's just more along the facts that women definitely know how to sound more appealing and more relaxing. I think if guys try to whisper too much, it's going to sound more, I guess you could say it sounds a little more creepy, and I'll speak on behalf of myself. If I whisper too much, I definitely do sound creepy. It's just not, it's not one of those things where it's like, I can do this. It's like, no, I can't do this. All right, we go on to the next one, which is going to be a con. This, I do not understand how this YouTube channel got to be where it's at right now. Almost 200,000 plus subscribers. That is Redneck Pudding. So it all started with 4 friends basically deciding to just do this random deal where they're videotaping one of their friends who basically is socially awkward. He doesn't make a lot of sense. He mumbles a bit. He very high on himself. Just really one of those kids that just makes you think, wow, this is what our generation is coming to. Great. I don't understand how they're getting so popular, and maybe it's because they're really that good at acting, but at the same time, it's very cringeworthy to say the least. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, 4 friends are Gabe, Ian, Frank, and Sean. Ian, Frank, and Sean, they basically record Gabe, and he is just this guy who's very, again, high on himself. He makes it seem like he's the greatest ever, or he's been a part of random things. I remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I've done this. I've traveled here. I've traveled here. I've been able to work out. I've been doing like these low carb diets and blah blah blah." And of course, his friends just shut him down like right away. Where he's like, "Yeah, no, you've eaten McDonald's. You've never traveled anywhere outside there." And of course, Gabe also has these random times where he just gets very emotional and very angry. It's like pressing it's like, if you press a button so many times, somebody's going to get pissed off. But it's like for him, you push one button, immediately he's going to just get completely ticked off. He's basically like a drama queen, is how I could put it. Like, I remember going through that stage as a kid. The four of them, I should say, are in their early teens. I believe that Ian is going off to college, so he is teen. It ranges from like 16 to 18. And, it's just really one of those things where it's like, oh, it's great. It's just a bunch of random teenage kids just acting stupid. That's apparently what YouTube likes to revolve around. The stupidity of our youth. Great. So, why is this even here? And another thing that really bugs me about Redneck Pudding is that they have their own merch. The merchandise is very generic. It's very underwhelming. It basically looks like... How do I even put this? Basically, if you look at the merchandise there, you would think that some random kid under their age just thought that this is how they're going to do it. And the pricing is absolutely outrageous. I mean, $23 for a shirt. I mean, almost $40 for a hoodie. I mean, geez Louise. Who in their right mind would pay that kind of money just for people to just, do random fights with each other that obviously are not real, poor acting, and just really probably have no business being on YouTube or on TV, as I'm holding up a wrestling t-shirt. Oh, right. So, moving on from another negative, we're going to talk about another positive. Obviously, I got 2 positives and 1 more negative left over. So, when it comes to another positive in the world of YouTube, one that really kind of stands out is Cinnamon Toast Ken. This is a guy who's just always very relatable. He does a lot of vlogs. He does a lot of video games. He'll do stuff with his... No, it wasn't Cinnamon Toast Ken. I do apologize. The other one that I want to talk about was Smosh, actually. Smosh and Smosh Gaming. So what basically started off as just 2 random guys just randomly thinking, let's just do funny stuff on YouTube. Let's do like these crazy skits. Let's maybe do some like gaming deals. It evolved into something bigger and better. Ian and Anthony just started off doing like a rip-off Pokemon theme song. And then from there, they built up into something more crazy and just something more unimaginable. They reached such high heights that even their own success feels like it's unreal, because everything that they've done, they've had skits, they've done like their own Saturday Night Live presentations, they've done gaming deals, which of course they branch off into Smosh Gaming, which brings in other people that they know, such as Mari, Lasercorn, Sohiki, Jovenshire, Wes, Flitz, a lot of their friends that they all have there, they just incorporate them into there, and they have their own personalities, and it's really amazing what they do. Now, obviously, a lot of people have heard the news about, Anthony, Sohiki, and Lasercorn have actually slowly just drifted away from these Smosh deals to kind of work on something on their own. With Anthony, it's probably not going to work out too well when he's just basically doing something on his own without having any kind of real plan, I guess I could say. But with Sohiki and Lasercorn, they're still working together, but they said that they will also come into Smosh games whenever they feel like it. And with Smosh, they do, video games, they do board games. They've done a thing called Game Bang, which is just basically them playing all these random games and they just decide, hey, we're gonna do like a point system. Winner is safe. The loser is gonna have to do like a certain kind of punishment. Like they've done one where they've had to eat hot sauce, or they've had to slip on a banana peel, or they've done like getting shot with paintballs or yogurts and stuff like that. It's kind of the most craziest and wildest things that you might ever see, but it's just very, very unique and very entertaining on how they do it. So Smosh Gaming, Smosh, keep up the good work, and I definitely give you guys a thumbs up. All right, final horrible YouTube channel that I definitely do not recommend. This one might not be a bit of a shock because I've been very vocal, especially on Twitter, about this. It's a channel basically entitled GTS Wrestling. So, with a lot of wrestling promotions, some of them are very cheesy, some of them are very legit, and then there are others that are just flat out, you've got to be kidding me. And that's basically what I would describe GTS Wrestling. Grimm's Toy Show started off as just, talking vlogs about action figures and how, wrestling events and stuff like that. And Grimm, mastermind as he is, then opened up a wrestling deal where he brings in a lot of his friends to, help him with the wrestling. He brings in a lot of other people into the wrestling shows just because he probably has the money for it. Some of the people that notably have come into GTS Wrestling, Ravi E., Bull Dempsey, well, the guy formerly known as Bull Dempsey, in GTS he was Bull James. They did the Twisted Sisters, Thunder Rosa, and they've also brought in a lot of all these other people. But the problem with GTS Wrestling is that when it's called GTS Wrestling, it feels like he is the only one relevant. When it comes to a lot of wrestling promotions, they, of course, they find ways to just balance everything out. They find ways to give everybody a chance. There'll be some times where, hey, we're going to bring in this guy, we're going to, try and move up this guy, we're going to make this guy into a main event, we're going to make this guy into a main event, we're going to do this. With Grimm, he willingly admits on camera that he's one of those guys who like to bury people shovel style, as he likes to put it. He calls himself the lard that runs the yard, the fat man that runs the camp. He's very abusive with his power. So abusive that very few people have been able to touch the coveted main title that he had, and that's the YouTube Wrestling Figures Heavyweight Championship. And Grimm has held on to that championship, I want to say, almost a grand total of 7-8 times, if I'm not mistaken. Because if you look at a history of the YouTube Wrestling Figures Heavyweight Championship, you'll definitely see that Grimm has been featured more on there than any of the other guys. And there's been so many times where he's done unfair tactics. Like somebody won a Money in the Bank deal or the Food in the Fridge deal, and he'll take that briefcase just because he can. And he says, oh, I'm cashing in because reasons. It just makes absolutely no sense. I do want to give these guys, major props. I mean, they do have really great stars. I've been very high on some of the guys. Jay Evans, Vlad, Tommy Salami is just really starting to grow on me quite a bit. One of the former YouTube Wrestling Figures Heavyweight Champions, Pete Corvus. So many guys in there that definitely deserve a lot more than what they're getting, but it just always is going to be the Grimm Show, and that's not fair. It really isn't. I am very surprised at how so many people can, stick around for that and think like, oh, maybe I'll get an opportunity. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get an opportunity because at the first chance Grimm gets, he's going to win that belt back. And he's trying to he's almost going to be, he's going to probably have Ric Flair's record by the time 2018's over. I can basically guarantee it. So, got that negative out of the way. Let's end it with a major positive. Somebody who I highly recommend, somebody who definitely deserves all the props in the world and just is absolutely one of the greatest guys you'll probably ever meet or ever see. That is the man, the myth, the legend known as Markiplier. So with Markiplier, he really started off as, again, another guy who just decided, I'm just going to do gaming and I'll just record myself and hey, let's just bring in a couple friends, It started off with him, Wade, and Bob when they just did like the Drunk Minecraft series, and it kind of really escalated from there. Then he just started really becoming a really household name when it came to YouTube. So much so that he started, continuing doing more gaming things, but then he also decided, I'm going to do some more, comedy bits, but I'm also going to just do it, he does things very, very differently from, like, say, a PewDiePie or a Jacksepticeye or a Cryotic or a Spoon. He's one of those guys that will actually do random either skits or he will just do, like, random challenges. Like, he's done, like, at least 7 of these, the Don't Laugh challenges. He's done a lot of he does a lot of, comedy games, stuff like From Whose Line with, Bob and Wade and Ethan and his friend Tyler. So many great things. And what's actually crazy is that I believe it was for his 1 million, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of his million hits. He actually did this series where he was doing like this sketch where you're basically picking how it's basically just picking like what road do you want to take, what path do you want to choose. It's really absolutely amazing what he did, and just everything that he has accomplished has really been earned, and it's just definitely been celebrated for a good reason. What also makes Markiplier just absolutely amazing is the fact that he, like a lot of YouTubers, does charity events. He was actually one of the first people to be on the news because he decided to do a charity event for his live stream. And he would actually do a lot of these crazy deals. He's actually done charity outside of these charity events. Like he did a no swear challenge during a Super Mario Maker deal. And he says, I will do this. Anytime that I swear, I will put a $100 counter on, and that's how much money I will donate to charity. And you guys get to pick the charities. You guys get to pick, basically, we basically get the chance to pick anything. So that was really amazing. And I just love watching Markiplier. He's very fun. He's very energetic. He's always just seemingly that one guy who would try to be everybody's friend. There's probably very few people that he either dislikes or hates. I mean, there's Wade, but hey, that's a given. I'm kidding. In all honesty, Markiplier is definitely one of those guys who I consider more to be Mr. YouTube than PewDiePie. PewDiePie may have more subscribers, but when it comes to creating just these memorable moments, creating all of these great emotions where he's actually been in public, and there are people who have actually been crying saying that Markiplier has definitely changed their life in some way or shape, that he has definitely brought joy and just happiness into their households. He's one of those guys who is so over with everybody that he definitely deserves all the fame and recognition that he gets. And he's still a typical guy. He's very humble. He really thanks everybody for all the support that he has been given, whether it's been from his friends, whether it's been from his family. He's just a very lovable guy, and that's, again, one of the reasons why I say he is Mr. YouTube, not PewDiePie. So Markiplier, if you ever listen to this, just keep up the amazing work. You do an amazing job, and thank you for all the warm memories. Alright guys, so that is the pros and cons of YouTube subscribers. I'm hoping you guys at least enjoyed the list a little bit. I know I kind of bounced back and forth, and it felt kind of weird, but hopefully you kind of get the point that I'm trying to get across. So thank you guys so much for joining me here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, as well as give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/changing up the game. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight and today or this evening, whatever it may be in your time zone. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining me here for the Game Changer. Bye-bye.
Chicken nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potato nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potatoes. Dip it all in mashed potatoes. Dip the mashed potato covered chicken nugget biscuit in the barbecue sauce. Yum, yum, gimme a nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit, nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit, nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potatoes. Nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit, nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit, nugget, biscuit, nugget, and a biscuit. Dip it all in mashed potatoes. Dip it all in mashed potatoes. Dip the mashed potato covered chicken nugget